Okay, so in this video we are going to look at the rubric and just basic getting started in the class. We'll just kind of finish up that discussion and take you through everything that's due the first week. So I am viewing our class right now in student view so that hopefully it looks as much as possible like yours. So again, every week you start out with the announcement. We've already talked about that, but I did just want you to see one thing here. The announcements after this week will be much shorter, most likely. And then either at the very top or the very bottom, you will find the videos. So I've already got one of the two videos embedded in here. And then what I've done to solve the rubric problem, at least for now, is in this first announcement, here's a copy of the rubric. And I've also put a link to it in the first module. So let's not get bogged down with that right now. Let's just take it like you will every week. So you'll first check the announcements, then you'll go on to modules, and then you can, bounce around in here if you've already done all this stuff and you just want to get to, say, the quiz. You can click here and go directly in the quiz, but you can start at the top and then just hit the little buttons at the bottom. So it kind of gives you an overview of what's going on the first week in class, what the reading assignments were. The learning objectives, the lectures for the class, key terms for the first week based on the contents of the reading assignments, additional video resources. So if you want to see some interesting things related to the chapter, you have that. And there was a road trip suggestion, which road trips are kind of hit and miss these days. So obviously take that into consideration if you feel like doing that. But all that extra stuff is just that. It's extra stuff like the road trips and the videos. Although I'd highly suggest you at least watch the videos. So then what is actually due? Now we just come to that tab, which again, another way to get there quicker is just by clicking here, and you don't have to go through all those first things, but obviously first time through you do. So our very first thing, super important, is this getting acquainted thing. And like I mentioned before, I use this to take roll, and I have to drop people that haven't done it by Friday, June 5th. So you just basically read this, respond appropriately by hitting reply right here, and you're already on your way to your first 10 points in the class. And then the next thing that is due, and this is probably like our most important thing each week, is these discussion questions. They take us up till the end of the class when the term paper is due. So this week, here's a term question. I won't read this to you, but I want to make sure that you understand that you need to cite specific examples from the text in your response. So it's ultra important that you're reading the textbook, responding appropriately, not just Googling these questions and writing from there. It will be so obvious to me if that's how you're doing it, and that's just not acceptable. The responses should be 2 to 3 complete paragraphs, and I'll let you read through the rest of this, but know this, here's the rubric. In fact, what doing that does is it just downloads it. So if you just want to look at the rubric and not have to download it each time, you can go back to the first announcement. But since it's here, let's click on it and open it up. This program might be preventing me from doing that, so I'm going to do just that. Go back to the first announcement, scroll down to the bottom where the rubric is at. And so this is what I was talking about earlier when I said, my way of responding to you is through these rubrics. So when you click in grades and you look at your first grade, the rubric will be there. And so if you got 10 points for this first thing, you're doing good. In fact, if you got 10 and 5 and 5 and 10, you got all points, then hey, I nailed this. But you have anything less for any one of them, then just know this could have been better. But if you enter into, say, 6 points for this, then it really didn't show me that you had adequate knowledge on the subject, that it wasn't related to that question as it is explained in the textbook. So we're looking for content, the relevance, the length of the response. So if you're giving us a good 2 to 3 um, paragraphs with 5 to 7 sentences each, great, right? But if you only get 3 points or less, look, that you're not doing that kind of content. I mean, it's kind of obvious just by looking through here, but I just want to make sure that you understand what I'm looking for as I grade the paper. And then the peer reviews, total of 10 points there. So if you only do one peer review, the max you're going to get is 5 points for this section. And if you do 2 peer reviews and you're getting less points than the full 10, it just means that your responses weren't as thoughtful as possible. You weren't making it sound in your responses like you read the textbook. So like, for example, somebody answers the question really adequately. You might say, yes, I agree with you. I also think blah, blah, blah is important. So you're just like you're having a discussion in person after both reading the chapters. If the person's, way off in their decision, we want to keep it friendly, of course, but you want to point that out because you're being graded for your responses. So you could just say something as kind as, I don't believe that's quite the answer that was being looked at. If you notice on page such and such in the textbook, this is pointed out. Obviously, don't give everything away to them and make it, easy for them to go back in and quickly change things. But you just want to, be on topic and be respectful and get this done. And you should end up with a good grade in the class. Now let's go back to the module. And under what's due here, the third thing, and you will have these most every week, is a quiz. And once you do the quiz, you just simply log in, not log in, but go into the quiz section, click this button, and it'll take you through the quiz. The points will vary each week depending on how many questions there are. You'll have about 90 minutes to complete the quiz. And remember the academic integrity part of the syllabus. Don't cheat, don't Google these answers. They're supposed to keep you on track for reading. Now, if you go to this sentence here, you'll see it says you can prepare for it, hint, hint, by logging into the online student guide for your textbook and taking the appropriate quiz. I'm not sure if it is actually chapter 1. But, so there's a big hint there that you can prepare for these ahead of time so you're not in there saying, oh, I got 16 questions in 90 minutes, which is a huge amount of time actually to answer those questions. And I just want to mention the importance. I already told you need to download it and read it, the syllabus, but the importance of that. Now remember this button here, syllabus, I told you ignore this course summary stuff. But just in case, somewhere down the road you're like, well, I got to check something in the syllabus, I did also put a link to it in here. So it's in here as well as in the first announcement. And you just click on that and it should download it for you to the bottom here. Hopefully I'll be able to open this. Yeah. Okay. So just a couple things real quick. Most of this you can read and digest on your own pretty easily. A lot of this we talked about as we went through. A key thing here is on the grading. Even though each assignment has points assigned to it, the grading is ultimately done on a percentage-based system, meaning like if an assignment's worth 40 points and you want a grade for it, you want to shoot to, and then you want a B grade for it, you want to shoot to, to be within 32 out of 35 points, because if you take 32 divided by 40, that's 80%, which is a B. So if you want an A on that, you need to get 36 or more points, right? So the reason I say it's not just a point-based system is I don't announce what the final amount of points are in the class. I've learned not to do that because things can change. Sometimes an instructor needs to say, okay, people aren't reading this, so I'm going to make more quizzes on this section because I really want you to learn what you're supposed to learn from this class. Now, if I had to make a guess right now, we would end up with about 550 to 600 points in this class. It's important that you know that there is no extra credit. So what you see is what you get. The grades are posted in Canvas on a very regular basis. Absolutely no work is accepted after the final class meets. Remember academic integrity. Don't take the chance on cheating in a class. It'll ruin your whole college records. Dropping the class, if you're not going to stick with it, get online, get on the college's website and drop it. And just remember, you got to get that first assignment done by Friday the 5th, or I will have to drop you anyhow. Okay, that's everything. I hope I didn't scare you away. It's not impossible, but it is going to be a lot of work, and you got to stay focused. I look forward to reading all your responses and chatting with you this way and via email if you have any questions. And again, remember to email me through Canvas as discussed earlier. Here's to a good semester.